Have you ever had that feeling where your days just seem to be on repeat? That sense of monotony where boredom isn't just uncomfortable, it's quietly draining your energy and your joy. Well, today, we're going to break down a simple 5-step system to turn that exact feeling into a much more fulfilling, adventurous life. So, let's dive in.
It really does start like this, doesn't it? You wake up, you go through all the same motions, you get things done. And that cycle, that repetition, it can feel safe. But wow, it can also feel deeply, deeply unfulfilling.
And then, before you know it, the end of the week or even the whole month just flies by, and you're left kind of wondering, where did all that time go? That lack of excitement, it's not just in your head. It's a real signal that your brain is basically on autopilot.
So to solve this, we first have to really understand the hidden costs of boredom. This goes way beyond just being unoccupied. It's about how it fundamentally changes our perception of life itself.
Okay, so let's get into the neuroscience a little bit, because it's fascinating. When you were a kid, pretty much everything was a new experience, right? Your brain was constantly processing new information, which literally makes time feel like it's stretching on forever. But as adults, our lives are packed with repetition. Our brain just recognizes all these patterns, it doesn't find anything new, and it essentially hits the fast-forward button. That's why time feels like it's just slipping away.
And this state of boredom, it's not harmless, not at all. Research shows these really clear links between chronic boredom and things like lower academic performance, higher anxiety, and even depression. It can get so extreme that some people will actually choose physical pain over the feeling of emptiness just to feel something.
Check this out. In one wild study, people were left in a room with nothing to do but sit with their own thoughts. Or they could press a button that gave them a painful electric shock, and about half of them chose the shock. Some people even shocked themselves dozens of times. That's just how desperately our minds want to escape that void of boredom.
Okay, so the crucial takeaway here is that we have to interrupt that cycle. An exciting, fulfilling life, it doesn't just happen by accident. Nope, it is deliberately designed. And that brings us right to our second step.
The solution here is so actionable and surprisingly simple. First, just make a list of 20 small, new things you'd like to try. And we're not talking about skydiving here, unless you want to. It could be as simple as baking cinnamon rolls for the first time, learning to crochet from a video, or visiting a local art gallery. Then, schedule at least 3 of these into your calendar every single month. And here's the key. Treat them like they're important, non-negotiable appointments.
You really don't need a huge budget or a ton of free time for this to work. A really powerful mindset shift is to just become a tourist in your own city. Look for local events, free concerts, or parks you've never actually walked through. I promise you will be amazed at the novelty you can find just around the corner once you actually start looking for it.
But what if your circumstances feel genuinely limiting? What if you really feel stuck?
Well, that brings us to our third and maybe most powerful step, mastering the power of your internal world.
No matter what is going on around you, no matter what constraints you might be facing, there is always one profound freedom that can never, ever be taken away from you.
This incredible insight comes from Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist and a Holocaust survivor. Even in the unimaginable horror of a Nazi concentration camp, he noticed how some inmates could still find beauty in a sunset viewed through the bars of a window. His experience proves that while we can't always control our external circumstances, we can always choose our internal response.
So, since we can't always be on a grand adventure, our next step is all about transforming the vast majority of our lives, those routine, everyday moments.
Think about it. Routine and repetition make up something like 95% of our lives. If we're only waiting for the big, exciting highlights to feel happy, well, we're basically setting ourselves up for disappointment. The real key is to find joy in the ordinary.
This is exactly what people mean when they say romanticize your life. Don't just have coffee. Make it a ritual with your favorite mug and a great playlist. Turn your shower into a mini sensory escape with a candle and some nice scents. And doing dishes? Come on, put on a cinematic movie soundtrack and make it feel like an epic experience. When you start to infuse meaning and beauty into the mundane, fulfillment is no longer something you have to wait for.
And finally, let's talk about the foundation that makes all of these other steps truly possible. This is all about curating your mental environment and cultivating the core belief that change is actually possible for you.
It's such a simple truth, but it's so powerful. We really do become what we read, what we watch, what we absorb. If your information diet is just filled with things that make you feel inadequate or empty, it's going to be incredibly difficult to feel fulfilled.
So you have to curate your media space and do it ruthlessly. Unfollow the accounts that trigger envy or self-loathing. You know the ones. And then replace them with content that genuinely inspires you, makes you happy, or just sparks your curiosity. Protecting your mind is an absolutely non-negotiable part of this process.
But here's the thing, none of this works without belief. Seriously, studies show that people only become more fulfilled if they genuinely believe it's possible for them, and then take action. If you don't believe these small shifts can make a difference, they won't. That conviction is the fuel for everything else.
So let's do a quick recap of the whole system. First, understand the hidden cost of boredom. Second, deliberately design novelty into your life. Third, always remember you can choose your attitude. Fourth, romanticize your daily routines. And fifth, protect your mindset by curating your inputs and building that belief.
Look, boredom can steal your time and your joy, but it is not a permanent state. The power to change it is totally in your hands. The life you're actually eager to wake up to, it isn't found in some distant future. It's built right here, one small, intentional shift at a time.
So that just leaves one final question for you to think about. What's one small, new experience you're going to plan? Or maybe one mundane task you're going to romanticize this week? Just start there.